Welcome, welcome, welcome everyone to another adventure into reality. Sit back, come on into the room, let yourself have a moment of relaxation. Unentangle yourself from all the entangled observers, taking away from you having a moment of relaxed focus, and you can allow yourself to hear words, feel words, and allow these words to make definition within you. Come on, everyone, down into the chat room. I have some stuff there for everyone to read. If you can see what I've written in the chat room, somebody type in yes or no. If not, I will type it back into there. No. All right, it came from the breakout room. Uno minuto, por favor. We are going to do a little English lesson. All right, paste. So I want everyone to take a moment and read these words. Allow them to blend into your present focus. We're going to do, like I said, a little English lesson here. Many of you might have heard, some of you might have heard me use these words before in a few other speeches, but I was going over these words earlier today. I want people to read them. The future of our species. We take step by step, day by day, each moment to discover our consciousness. It comes to the set of choice points. Consciousness exploration is the next era when science and spirits rediscover commonalities that reunite the passion for self-discovery. The linguistics of science and spirit have shared common base tongue for 2,000 years. I bring forth this as something that is not what I wanted to print. Oh, it is. Sorry. I want to do the later part. So read these words. Okay. Do you not see it? Okay, if you're just coming into the room, you probably don't see it. I'll paste it again. There we go. That's the second part because I had my copy paste all done wrong. And I'll do the second part. And here's the second part. The linguistics of science and spirit. Science has reached a point where science can't define everything anymore. And science and spirituality are exploring the same concepts, yet using different language, but the same languages to define what it is they are learning from the sets of experiences. The future of our species is the undiscovered dream space, the sacred neutral inner creation and outer voyages our ancestors of the past searched, discovered, and painstakingly mapped so future generations may take up the mantle of responsibility and once again search the multiverse as unentangled observers. Astroarchaeology has proven over and over again, things have been encoded in our ancient past for us to learn. And science has now a mantle of responsibility to take that up. To discover the undiscovered countries discovered by the ancients long ago. And there are undiscovered countries now because we are not connected to our ancients in any way, shape, or form anymore. 10 generations ago, we were torn from the womb of the earth and brought into the big cities. 1,000 generations before that, history does not record who we were, what we did. They're but scraps of newspapers scrolled on a wall, people trying to attempt to understand each and every aspect of every culture in the past has some level of misunderstanding to it. So let these words sink in. Linguistics. What are choice points? Pow. And that is the beginning teaching. A moment where you have to choose. And that choice points you will adhere to. Something you can't unadhere yourself to. I've used this many times before, like getting your driver's license versus not getting your driver's license. Once you choose to adhere that I'm a driver now, even if you don't drive afterwards, you've become a driver. And that's a choice points of adherence. There are other things that we make solid and firm where once again, we make a choice point we adhere to. Oftentimes ego and dogma stops us from unadhering that choice. Example, when you're stuck in a relationship you can't get out of, be it because of economics or whatever it is going on, you cannot unadhere to that choice, even though you can. But it's too painful to tear yourself like Velcro away from what is keeping you locked there. Other choice points, education. So many people find themselves in the educated world and all of a sudden discover they don't want to be that form of educated, or the education system for them isn't for them. Okay? I haven't told anyone to raise your hand, so everyone that's already raised your hand, lower your hand. That's right. Everyone that's there, lower your hand. If your video is on, turn off your video. Okay? Only one person's lowered their hand. There we go. That's right. Okay? Every time we have a choice point in front of us, we must choose what it means to us. Some people just gloss over the choice and move through the dogmatic choice and allow it to be not even a marker stone in what has gone on. Other examples, people find themselves losing those social skills, unable to go out and have fun with friends and family because they become so polarized in their choices to allow information to change them. How many people do you know, have you seen walk down the alley of becoming a hermit willingly? Okay, why don't you go into the chat room, type in yes or no. And if you're a yes, are you one of those persons that's walked down the path of hermitsy willingly? And you may have many justifications for that. And some of them might be justified justifications. But why have you removed yourself? Why? If you're one of those hermits, find an answer. Go to that chat room. Why have you become a hermit? You disqualified yourself from participating. To heal and get ready for a new chapter. Seeking the truth. Because you're seeking the truth is not an actual reason to become a hermit. Maybe justified in your mind, but that's not an actual reason. You can seek the truth and still have plenty of friends and family. Alan, old pattern of habit, but around a long time. You can't really feel when you're alone because you're only stuck with your own emotions that you're avoiding. Tickety boo. I'm awakening and I'm doing on my own as far as real life was party, party, party girl before. Well, you just have to learn to not be a party girl before, a new way. Once you lose those social skills, no matter how awakened you are, you're on a part of the awakening. And yes, it's an individual awakening in which you share your designed and experienced experiences. Design, meaning the grand spiritual design of going through an experience, then learning how, when, why, and where to share it. This multimedia, social media world that we have is so many ways we can share experiences. I share my experience. I come and do thousands of hours of shows from you since 2012 on to now. What do you think I've been through in the 7 years of doing this? Give you an opportunity to ask me. And so when somebody comes to the Wheel of Callers, what it's been like for me. iPhone, experienced the polarity of resting, then resting, and became lazy. Very good definition. Eric, what about if your friends are lame? You chose lame friends. You got to choose new friends and make new experiences. iPhone, what has it been like for me? Call in and ask. It has had many challenges, many challenges. People constantly putting me up on a pedestal, and if I use one swear word or smoke a cigarette or something like that, they kick you off the pedestal and you're not their perfect person anymore, and they will demean you whatever they can. Okay? Or you have people that put you up on a pedestal and they will only ever see you that way. They'll never see the human you because they can't. Those are the extremes. Then there are the in-betweens. The people that have tried to make regular friendships with you, but they regularly slip up and are never always in the point of asking spiritual questions. You know, it's like being in a normal conversation with a person and all of a sudden they want you to interpret a dream and it's 9-10 times a night, every night, because they just can't hold it back. Or you have to meet my friend because I want to hook you up with my friend, but all that friend wants is a free fucking reading and don't really give a shit about you. Okay? I stopped that decades ago. Okay? I've limited the amount of relationships that I've been in because people don't truly take the time to understand who I am, what I am, and what it is that I do. I spent a decade and a half of my life practicing specific, Native American and South American rituals to understand what medicine is. So I came to the point where most people don't need medicine and I shouldn't be having it in any way, shape, or form, unless they've actually done some of the inner work. Okay? And then there's the ones that demand to be with me and send me these long messages of, I've been in love with you since the first time I saw you. You're my fantasy person, blah, 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 blah. 10 pages of text later, after I've already said, no, I'm not interested, they're still going. And I have to say, darling, if you can't stop, if you're always full of emotions all the time, it isn't real. You're just forcing a situation where you're thinking you're more and more, you're texting me is going to make me more interested, and it isn't. It's driving me away. Boy, if I were to ever reveal some of the texts that were sent to me. Okay. Okay. Clients, right in the very beginning of the session, profuse their endless love for me. How do you think that session's going to go? Okay. Fantasy worlds. People have full-on fantasy worlds with me. Thank you, Eric. I love you too, but not in that way. In a universal way. Even when I do that point where I say in the universal way, I have to use the crushing energy. I'm going to block you if you don't stop. And then what happens? They turn vicious, vile, and mean and go all over full social media and Facebook and declare me the devil. You know how many times that's happened? Declare me the devil. Yeah, well, one horn holding up my halo. Okay. You know what it's like, walking through an airport and saying, hey, you're that Andrew guy. Can I have your autograph? And the person next to you going, you have autographs? People sign autographs? I'm like, you've known me for how many years and you have that little respect for me? That was a unique one. I'm standing there signing the person and the person's like, you don't even know who he is? And this has been a friend that's been for many, many years. Yeah. I'm like, do you respect what I do that much? And it turned out, yes. I knew him before I was famous, don't get me wrong, but it also shows how little respect he had for what it is I was doing. Yeah, shit like that. Why am I sharing it? Tis the season to be holly, jolly, merry, and open. Okay. So I'm going to open up the calls now and see who's got the guts to ask me the personal question and see if I got the guts to answer you back. All right, Robert, spin up that wheel of callers and see who wants to ask me some unique and special questions.
Okay, first caller will be Jamie Givens. Jamie, you're unmuted with Andrew.
Jamie, are you there?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, I am. Yes, I can. Where are you calling from today?
Nashville, Tennessee.
Nashville, Tennessee. How are you doing today?
Hey, you know, I don't have a question for you. I just want to thank you because I had a reading with you 2 years in March, and you were so kind and you were so giving. And I just want you to know that I followed through and did everything you asked, and things have shifted. And I just want to thank you so much. You're one of the few people that I have a numerous amount of respect for, and thank you for sharing your personal experience.
Thank you.
That's
So
all.
what is it that you did that helped you out?
You know, I did all the revocations and all, you know, you shared with me some of your work. And so I did all the out loud readings, and I do them over and over again still. And, you know, spiritual hygiene, you know, that was such a powerful lesson that you have for people. And that it made me even more vigilant in my own emanations, and taking care of what I put out as much as what I bring in.
Very powerful teaching that a lot of people gloss over. If it's the one teaching that anyone actually hears from me, it's probably one of the most important ones compared to so many other things that I put out there. Because without spiritual hygiene, you can't hear the high frequency information.
Yeah. And with spiritual hygiene, you wouldn't have gone through most of what you just shared with us, because that's not what spiritual hygiene is.
Mm-hmm. That's right. And being able to create those documents the way that I did, just because I followed through with spiritual hygiene.
Yeah.
That's courage and discipline that isn't mystical, to connect to myself, which isn't mystical. It's my given birthright.
Yes.
Well, thanks a lot for calling in. I thank you for the
welcome.
wonderful compliments, and good luck with your path.
Thank you.
All right, Robert, let's spin up that next wheel of callers and see who's got the special questions for me.
Alrighty, next caller will be Katya Theo.
Katya, are you there?
Oh, hi, hello. Hi, Andrew.
Where are you calling from today?
I'm calling from Cyprus.
Cyprus. Oh, we talked once before. How's it going?
Good, good, very good. I'm really happy today watching Prince Andrew interviews.
Oh, yeah, he looked like an idiot.
Oh, they're going down.
That's right. The lizards are going down one by one.
On their own.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's helping them.
Well, they just had a big diamond theft in Germany, in Dresden. And that diamond theft was not supposed to happen. And a lot of the royals are going to be wondering where many of their seats of power, which are no longer in their crown jewels.
It's true.
So what question did you have for me today?
To ask you? I don't know. I wasn't prepared for that, actually. I'm a bit shy. I'm going to do a quantum healing in a few days.
Good.
But I'm starting having doubts with myself that I'm going to get through.
Don't doubt yourself.
Doubt about everything. It's like in my mind all the time. Fear and doubt.
Well, fear and doubt are the mind killer, and you'll never do anything if you're stuck in fear. Just remember your choice to go and do it was to change yourself, to not be in fear and doubt of yourself. And just accept what happened is supposed to happen. And as part of moving the stagnant energies that are around you, is making choices that will help change you.
It's it's difficult, I think.
You just got to have confidence and faith.
Confidence and faith.
Yeah,
All right.
in yourself for making the right choices and not being shame, blame, or guilt if the choice doesn't go the way you expect, because expectations will create your limitation.
Yeah.
All right, darling, we're going to move on to the next caller if you don't have a question right now. Thanks a lot.
Okay. Thank you, Andrew. Bye. Bye,
All right,
everyone.
Robert,
Bye.
let's spin up that wheel of callers and see who's got a question for me.
Alrighty. Next caller will be Michelle Barrett. Michelle, you're unmuted.
Michelle, are you there?
Hello, Andrew. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Where are you calling from today?
I'm calling from Ireland, south of Ireland.
Oh, welcome to the show, South of Ireland, the show. What questions do you have today?
I was going to ask you, do you have children?
Nope. Zero.
Have you don't see any children in your future?
I do, just have not met the person to follow through with that.
Okay. Have you had your human design chart done?
Yes, manifesting generator.
Manifesting generator. What's your profile?
I don't remember offhand. It was done a few years ago.
Okay, because my profile is 2-4, which is the hermit opportunist. So it's the hermit line, but it's also got the opportunity line to be drawn out of the hermit state. So it's quite conflicting because I need a lot of time on my own, but I do like social gatherings too. But I need somebody to pull me out of my hermit state. So it's interesting when you talk about the hermit state, because it kind of works both ways with me. I need time on my own, but I do like to go out and socialize and meet people. I was just interested that you knew about human design because I'm kind of studying it for years, and I find the correlation with working on people's bodies when I'm doing craniosacral with their human design chart.
Oh, there's a lot of correlations right there with that.
Yeah.
The thing with the hermitsy aspect is the type of choice and why you're doing it. If you're doing it to actively avoid people and places and things because you're too emotional, too empathic, then it's an egoic spiritual choice to be an ego. You go into your personal place and solve your egoic issues. But there are other people who seek hermitsy not because the world is too loud, because they're looking for a state of focus in which they can use focus to create creativity within themselves. One of my challenges at a very young age is I started working at a really young age 6, had my first cup of coffee, did my first, long weeks of work at 6 years old, parents owned restaurants, had to go to work.
Yeah.
So by the time I was 14, I was still working like 30 plus hours a week at a fast food restaurant and didn't have time to be with friends and family. Always working, always going to school. And then I found time to have with friends and family, but I would always have these moments where I would go to the most busiest place I could possibly be, like a mall on the holidays, and sit down in the food court where everything is noisy and crazy with a notebook and try to write my spiritual concepts and ideas. Now, I had learned this from a spiritual teacher, and he basically said, when you can conquer the outside world and get into a focus and write your heart's desires, even when the other world is cranky and outside there, you can overcome anything.
Yeah.
So do you use that hermit time for focus and focus's sake without a subject matter?
Without a subject matter, I use it to paint and to study.
Focus's sake.
Yeah. So you're saying just to use it to focus on something.
Focus creates clarity in many other subject matters. A lot of people paint, write, do all these other things because when their mind is in a focus state, other things find a way to resolve themselves because you're not overthinking something.
Definitely. That's great. Thank you, Andrew.
Okay, do you have anything else you want to ask?
No, I hope you find that woman to have a baby with.
Me too. I'm 45, still got plenty of time. I'm Greek, and a lot of them wait until they're 60.
Yeah, plenty of time. Good luck.
All right, thank you so much. All right, Robert, let's spin up that next wheel of callers and see who's got a question for me.
All righty. Next person will be Jerka. Jerka, you're unmuted with Andrew.
Jertha, are you there?
Hello, hello. Can you hear me?
Barely. You got to speak up a little bit more. Where are you calling from today?
From Czech Republic.
From the Czech Republic. Welcome to the show. What kind of questions do you have?
Thank you. I want to ask you, since you mentioned reptilians, if you were ever approached from anyone from royalty or from the higher circles who wanted your services?
Physically?
Physically or non-physically?
Yes, I've had a variety of clients that were not necessarily lizard-esque, but are in the circle there. We'll say yes. I'm not going to name names.
Can you get into some more specifics that are safe?
They have a lot of problems just like you and I. And there have been a few times I've talked on air. There are times that a human comes to me for a session, and that human is so screwed up that the demons get trapped inside them, and the demon is there for the reading, literally.
Wow.
So yes, I have had situations where there's really no human left, and it's the thing running them that's coming for the session and making them pay for it. Yes.
And what do you do in those cases?
I'm a sacred neutral observer. I read them.
The demon?
Whatever it is, yeah.
Wow.
Oftentimes it goes through a traumatic release and get it to leave the body, and then the body, those humans got to come back in the body. Or they have long-term contracts. Oftentimes demons don't have a very nice life either. You may think it's all great, but everything's in competition with them, and it sucks for them.
Wow. Okay, thank you.
Hi, thanks a lot for calling in.
Thank you.
All right, Robert. We've got a big round of infinite wheel of callers going here. It's like an automatic weapon.
Popping popcorn.
Exactly.
All righty. It's going to take a phone caller. Phone caller with last number 7047. You're unmuted with Andrew.
Phone caller with the last number 7047. Are you there?
Hi, Andrew.
Hi, what's your name?
This is Irene, Maryland.
Hi, Irene. Where are you calling from today?
Maryland.
Welcome to the show. What questions do you have for me?
I've always wanted to ask you for a reading, but I never have. I was wondering if you would do that today.
Okay, so tell me a little about yourself.
What type of thing do you want to know?
Anything you want.
Okay. I've been on this spiritual path a very, very, very long time. And I was relentless in the pursuit of truth and knowledge. And it brought me at the end to a very, very, very good place in my life.
Mm-hmm. So in this relentless pursuit of the truth, would you say you've ever become a zealot or a martyr?
Probably. Zealot, maybe not. Martyr, possibly. I mean, that was part of the path. People have played all different kinds of roles to me and me to them.
That's the nature of spirituality, that we all have to play roles until such a time that we don't want to be actors in the roles anymore, that we want to be creators of our own material.
But I'm very grateful, because I don't think I would have come to this place in my life if I hadn't had those experiences.
Mm-hmm.
So,
what is this place in your life?
Things are, I realize that I am the creator of my reality, and I've learned how to do that. Mm-hmm. And it's a very empowering place to be.
Okay. And what do you want to do with your life?
One of my goals was to do what I want when I want to do it.
Mm-hmm. Are you doing
and that's the place I'm at right now.
Are you doing that?
Yes.
And what is it that you're doing that makes you happy?
I only do things that make me happy now. My choice is always from love and joy, whereas before it was obligation.
Mm-hmm. So what about when the world doesn't want always love and joy?
Well, that's their experience, not mine. That's, that's what I project. That's how I want to live. I don't, I know that family and people around me are in difficult experiences, but that's their path.
Mm-hmm.
And by example, they've seen what I've come through. And, I share that with them, and it's their choice whether what path they want to follow.
Okay. So what kind of professional life have you had?
Many, many things, whatever I needed to do at the time. Multi-talented. I'm also a psychic.
Mm-hmm. How long have you been doing that for?
Started doing that in 2015, but mostly friends and family.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes professionally when I want to.
Mm-hmm. You ever thought about taking it to a public scenario?
I have probably. I was thinking maybe next year.
So if you always do what you want to do and you're always doing the stuff that makes you happy, why aren't you doing that now?
Well, I am doing it, but just not professionally. I mean, I did a couple of readings the other day.
You asked me for a reading.
Yes.
I've been reading you the whole time, trying to discover how I can help somebody that's gone through the great journeys of understanding you can't take on the projections of others, because you had a very great answer in the way you responded. Because there's a certain way to respond where it immediately shows you're in spiritual ego or not. And you're not in spiritual ego. You're in acceptance that they're going to do what they're going to want to do, and I don't have to take it on.
Yes.
But Spirit has been poking you for a long time to go public, and you do got the hand up to Spirit.
That's true.
Why are you
I mean, I did actually. I don't want to say I was hijacked, but at the particular time I was developing a website.
Mm-hmm.
I was all ready to go the next day when I got a call that somebody in my family that was very close to me had attempted suicide. And they had an infant, 6-month-old infant that was living with me. And I went into shock for a while and then started taking care of my grandchildren and have not moved forward with it since then. But it's definitely on my agenda to do it next year. I'm just cleaning up some loose ends.
You could have started and still done with the grandchildren.
I don't think so. I was in a state of exhaustion and I didn't have anything left to give.
I'm giving you your reading.
Okay. All right.
Could have. There was a moment in which you could have reached out to many more people for help, but you went into yourself and said, I'm going to clean this mess up myself.
Yes.
And you shouldn't have cleaned this mess up by yourself. And that was one of the messages Spirit was telling you over and over and over again. Ask for help. Help was there. You just didn't want to ask for it.
Yes, at that point in time, I was in that mode where I was not a good receiver. I've been working on that because I realized that I was always putting out, but I never knew whenever a situation would occur, I would be the one to clean it up. I never extended. The only help that I would ask for is for when my friends would listen to me, and that was very helpful.
Mm-hmm. But you ultimately didn't ask for help at a moment where Spirit was offering you all sorts of help and your intuition is there, and you burned yourself out. You martyred yourself for that situation. You could have started, that means, because that website that's 3 years out of date is useless for you.
Yes.
How much did you spend on the website?
Oh, not very much at all. I mean, it was one of those very simple. It wasn't actually put together. I was struggling with that because I'm not good at technology.
Okay. Why aren't you good with technology?
Because I'm old.
You're not old.
I wasn't raised with it, it's, you know, I've learned a lot, and I do a lot, and I will get help with it. You know, I learn how to do it. I want it structured so that it's very simple. It's not, I don't want something where I have to maintain it.
That's you just trying to control everything, and life is about maintaining, and business is about maintaining ×3, so it doesn't fall apart.
But I do want control of it. I want it on my terms, the actual business end of it, because I don't have to do it, and that's part of the life I want.
Life doesn't work that way, though. Life doesn't work that way, especially when you're in business.
Well, I can control my calendar.
No, you can't, not when you're in business. You think I can control my calendar all the time? No. No.
Well, I think, you know, I know other people control the calendar. It's my time. I decide when I want clients and when I don't. That's what a calendar is.
What about when you get 20 clients a week?
Well, I'll decide how many clients that I want to see. And I'll get a feel for it.
Listen to
what
what
if it's not something that I'm going to do out of joy, then I don't want to do it. It has to be a joyful experience.
Life doesn't work that way all the way either. That's a little love and lighter bullshit that you've given yourself.
No, I don't think so.
I know so. I've experienced this tens of thousands of times.
Yes, but that's your experience in your business. You're a young man.
You asked
I'm
me.
an older woman. You know, that may be your truth in your business, but it's not necessarily going to be the way that I do it.
There are times that life asks you to get out of your mold, the way you've controlled and decided for it to be, and allow it to spirit to work through you, and you do not control spirit. As long as you're trying to control spirit, it's not working through you and with you. I learned that a long time ago. It's co-creation. It's not single control. Do you understand that part? It's co-creation, not singular control.
Well, yes, of course. And I will learn that, you know, when the process starts.
Well, I'm giving you your reading. Stop trying to take control of everything.
Well, you're asking me, and I'm answering you truthfully.
I get that.
You know,
and I'm trying to help you understand what's in your way right now. Too much control. Too much control. You controlled the situation in 2015 where you could have jumped into that, and yes, you would have had a challenging time, but spirit would have repaid you 10,000-fold. And it's asking you to do the same thing now, to stop trying to be in full control all the time so that you can just ride the waves of what's being offered through the universal wisdoms. Just like here in this conversation, you can take it and leave it, a grain of salt, whatever you want. You've been listening for a while, you understand that I have a way of breaking down people so they can see what's in front of them, or what's behind them, or what's in front of them. And what's in front of you is your own control of the future and the present. That's your challenge, to not control. To get into a point where resistance to spirit and some of its stronger messages that you've been resistant to. There is a humble factor to that when spirit tries to humble us with what's right in front of us. Are you there?
Yeah, yes, I'm listening.
Okay. You asked me for a reading, and I'm bringing this forward. You have a serious issue with controlling the future, and it's because of the experiences that you went through the past. And that there's a rigid, solid, rigid energy which you draw strength from, but is also your limitation. And it's something that's going to require just a little bit of inner work, looking on the eyeglass of yourself and going, why am I always need to be in control of everything in every place? Because of the traumas I went through in the past. The traumas of the past don't really affect you anymore, but the rigid structure is now, which is the creation of the limitations by saying, I will only do it when I want, when it makes me happy. Well, guess what? When you're a regular psychic and one person's haunted, the next person's not, the next person's haunted, it isn't going to be what you want all the time. And you're going to have inner challenges that come up client to client, moment to moment. You might have an 11 o'clock session followed up by a 4 o'clock session. And those hours in between, all of a sudden, I don't want to do it. What are you going to do? Cancel the client?
No, I have never done that.
But when you start doing it on a regular basis and it's a big part of your life, 12, 15, 18, 22 hours a week, it will be.
So what do you mean by haunting?
Some of them are just plain haunted. Have you listened to shows that I've done, or you can tell that they're
I have.
Okay, you will get that. Don't think that you won't. You absolutely
No.
will.
Are you talking about negative soul attachments?
That and
type of thing?
That and worse. As soon as you put yourself out in the market taking cash, yes, that and worse. Your control of saying it's all love and light will be challenged by the system. There will be a person that comes in that's had full-on sexual abuse and full denial of it. We give them all of their wisdom you want, and they're going to have a full-on meltdown on you.
And they're going to what?
Have a meltdown on you.
But, I mean, I can stay in neutrality with that.
Sure. What about if you have 4 in a week?
I can still stay in neutrality with that. It's not my experience.
I don't think you can. I think that you're.
I can. Believe me, I can.
For a reading, you asked me for a reading. You can take it or leave it. I don't think you can, because I see the rigid control that you have. And as soon as your rigid control is challenged and the cage is rattled, you go back to rigid control. That's your response, rigid control. As long as you have
not in a reading, I don't go into that energy. It's not mine.
It will happen, is what I'm trying to tell you.
Well, maybe it will, but you know, I keep my field very clear.
Yes, you do, because you have rigid control.
That works for me.
Yes, but I'm telling you, it's a limitation, is what I'm trying to tell you. It's a limitation that is going to bite you in the butt. Hard. You should be doing 25 clients a week right now, charging well over $200 an hour, but you're not. That's how good you could be.
Well, I was charging $250, and you know, it was a learning curve. Some people once you give that reading, they're constantly calling back with additional questions, and they think you have the magic wand system, where with just one swipe of the wand, you're going to clear all this negativity out, where the process actually includes them. They don't realize that it's their follow-up action that's going to be the magic, not any magic that I'm doing. I'm just giving them information to act on and clearing what I can out of the records at the time.
You're doing a lot more than just that. You are transforming and transmogrifying energy, and a lot more than the language allows us to speak. And you know that. Don't limit yourself when saying, you're doing a lot more than just that.
Well, that's what they tell me afterwards, when they...
Mm-hmm. But you, as a person
back,
that understands what your skill, you're doing a lot more than that. Just like in this conversation, there's a lot more going on in the unseen world between the two of us. Some of the audience is picking up on it and some of it isn't. If the audience is picking up on it, write in the chat room, what do you think is going on in the unseen world right now between the two of us? You're being a great teacher to a lot of people here with your rigidness. Because it's worked for you.
I would just like other people to know that if they stay on the path, regardless of what they have to go through, be true to it, and the rewards are enormous.
Absolutely.
When you start clearing out all of this energy and unpeeling the onion, and things come in your life that seem insurmountable, relationships that are toxic, and work it through, the end result is that you come into this neutral space where even though you've had to get rid of a lot of people out of your life that were toxic, at the end of it all, they start coming back in and they come back to you, and it's a much more loving, peaceful relationship. So I had to do this with a lot of family members. Actually, we talked about it years ago and told me, you know, they were very close family members. And I had to make some very tough decisions for my own good to eliminate these people from my life. And when I chose myself and my own higher good, it was painful for about 2 years. But at the end of it all, when I chose myself and chose my spirituality, everything just worked out beautifully. So for everyone out there, don't give up. What you say is true. All of these practices really work.
Okay. You're absolutely right. What I'm saying is, in that journey to create you, you made some very rigid solutions and choices to help you go through those challenges that are not assisting you in going forward, that they're limiting you now.
Are you telling me to lighten up?
I'm telling you to take the gloves off.
Take
Literally.
the gloves off.
Yeah,
Okay.
you are in spiritual warfare. You don't even realize it. You are defending your position to a point where you're taking offense, but you shouldn't. You are so much better than you're letting yourself be, and you're using that rigidness for a cover-up.
You might be right.
I know I'm right. That's what I believe. Okay? The inner work for you is looking at the rigid castle of control you've created and to take it apart brick by brick and rebuild it so it's not a rigid control. Spirit has been knocking on your door for decades and you're not hearing it. Yet you hear spirit all the time.
I do. Constant. I've had that dialogue for a long time.
But when it's knocking on your door, your rigid door, the hearing aid's not on. Hearing aid's not on. That's selective spiritual hearing. Hearing. That's the inner work. You get past that, you'd be doing what I do and more.
Well, you know, this is not what I expected, but I will definitely take it under consideration and maybe future action. And I'd just like to say I appreciate how much you give of yourself to everybody.
Thank you. And I appreciate how much you give of yourself to people too. And I would
Thank you.
Hope that in fact impel you to really look at your rigidity and how far it goes back into your life. It's a choice point and pattern in you that you've maintained your reality, but to be a psychic at a high level, you can't be rigid, period. It will beat you up and chew you out.
The rigidity actually comes from childhood. I went to very rigid private Catholic schools.
I know. I'm quite aware of it. That's why I've been challenged.
It was the little army of God, and it was terrifying. As a matter of fact, I wanted to ask you this, if you still have time.
Sure.
When I first went to rigid, the Little Army of God school, I was a very sensitive child, and I came from a nice. My family was not were gentle with us. They didn't use corporal punishment. You were allowed, speak your voice, and there was this corporal punishment. So I was a very communicative child at home. But at the age of about 6, I developed this horrible stammer where, when I was so terrified of being hit, which happened a lot in catechism, I don't know if you're familiar with Catholic school.
Yeah, I've dealt with many.
Where the nun would stand behind you with this bamboo cane, which was very sharp. And if you didn't get the question right, they would start hitting you or pulling at your ear or pulling your hair, or, physical abuse. So at that time, I developed a stammer, which actually became so bad that when I was called upon, I couldn't speak. I didn't have the stammer at home, but it did follow me throughout childhood in school.
Because you were broken down and beaten into fear. And there was
Yes.
absolutely demonic entity all throughout that situation. And you created your rigidity like a secondary personality to protect you. And the stammer was part of the misery program that was created from the demon.
Yes.
And it's why you're so rigid today. It's how you defended yourself from high energy negative entities. I have dealt with this so many clients. I could smell this on you before you even called in, quite literally.
Really?
Yeah, it's to me. I've done so many recovering Christians who have been beaten and tortured worse than you can even think of. One of them lost an eye from one of those damn nuns.
Yes, my dad told me that this was in the 30s, that one of the masters at the Christian Brothers broke a boy's back, and he was never and he died, and he was never prosecuted.
Nope.
Worse
happened. Worse
complete domination and control.
What about the ones that were sold into slavery?
Yes.
You have to look at your rigidity as your protective model. That has been very good for you, but it is not good for you at the age that you're at now. And like an old set of clothes, you don't want to let go. You've got to let go of the rigidity. It goes all the way back to the stammering and even before that.
Yes.
That's the inner work for you.
Does this have anything to do, going back a little further, when I was about 3? I've always had problems sleeping, but when I was 3, at nighttime, when I would go sleep at night, it became terrifying, because when I was laying in bed, I was aware of my spirit lifting up out of my body and going into negative astrals, and I would hold onto the bed, being aware of leaving my body and going somewhere, which was not very pleasant. So I became very terrified at night. Could you explain what was actually happening there?
That was all a setup so you could be harvested by the nuns at a later age. That's ancestral debt to the Catholic churches you went to.
So when I was lifting up out of my body, was I going into negative astrals?
Yeah, you were being taken by a demon to a negative astral world as part of the setup. So in the future, when the nun was whacking everybody, you'd be 10,000 times afraid because that nun was in the negative astral world and didn't even know it.
And that continued on when I moved to London, and I was in all these haunted houses and apartments in London. I could never sleep. I could only sleep about 2 hours at a time. I was always, for some reason, terrified in these houses that were old Victorian, Edwardian houses that were turned into apartments. They were all haunted.
Because you had learned a defensive model that you were in post-traumatic spiritual disorder, like a PTSD, and I use spiritual disorder, where you were always in an awakened state, always in an aware state, and you created a wall of rigidity around you. Now, about 4 minutes ago, when I was having a conversation back and forth, if you go back and look at the chat room, you will see people saying where you're at already before you've even mentioned the whole Christian Catholic Church, yet you were at war with everything. They knew it. They knew it. Okay? You can see some of the people, if you go back to the chat room, you're fighting everything all the time. And you are. You've been fighting since you were a kid. And the wall of rigidity is your armor of protection. It's a great moment of self-reflection for you here. About 12 people, 15 separate people who didn't know what our next set of words were going to be, already felt it and sensed it, and have multiple sentences to show it.
Well, I can actually see what you're saying now. It's the end of the conversation, because that type of rigidity, other people see as a strength in me, because people always tell me I'm extremely strong, and they couldn't have withstood the
You are.
I've gone.
What I'm saying is the next level for you. If you want to go to the next level, you can't stay that rigid. Period.
Okay, so is the opposite of rigid vulnerability?
No, subtle,
What-
suppleness.
Suppleness.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, could you give me a little more math on what you mean by that?
Because your default concept is always rigidity, it's going to be a very foreign concept to you. There are certain types of leather that can be hard and certain types of levers that can be very, very soft. And they have different forms of protection to them. You have to learn different levels of suppleness and flexibility. When to be rigid and when to not be. You actually don't know how to not be rigid. Everything is rigid, steel. You go between concrete and steel. Those are your two levels. Well, you also have to learn really soft like clay too. Fluid like the water. Those are all parts of the greater experience of allowing spirit to flow through you and not work against it. And for you to hear spirit's certain words of slow down. Don't be so hard.
So what would be the practices to bring that about?
Doing the inner work on what rigidity is, going back and listening to this a couple times, going back to the original child that created the rigid state that you're using as a castle of power. And guess what? The ages have passed where you don't need to be in that castle of power anymore. You've defeated your demons. You don't need a castle with weapons and war on it all the time anymore. You need to demilitarize the castle you're in.
Okay.
Okay? Go to a manor house. You think the woman wants to always live in that war castle? No, they have a summer home somewhere else. You don't need to live in the war castle all the time. You got to deconstruct rigidity.
Okay. I'll tell you when I don't feel rigid is I do this shamanic ecstatic dancing, even though I'm older. For some reason, when I listen to the Indian skin drum beat and the flute,
Mm-hmm.
it kind of ignites me, and that's the type of exercise that I use to stay fit.
Mm-hmm. There's always a ways to soothe the savage beast as well as the armored heart.
Mm-hmm.
The inner work is getting to the child who was used and abused at a young age, who created the rigidity that you live by today, and that has used that rigidity as a red badge of courage. You don't need that red badge of courage anymore. It is your limitation. Yes, that shit happened. Yes, it defined who you are, but it doesn't define who you will be forever.
So I need to shed that.
Yeah, you need to
shed the armor.
Yeah, you need to completely shed it and rebuild it in a new way.
Well, Andrew, that was wonderful. It was not what I was expecting to hear.
And what Spirit said to me from point one, stand your ground with her. Stand my ground. That's what you do with people, stand their ground with their energy. And I brought back something that you have a special skill with other people. And learning how to be rigid is a unique skill you'll be able to go and learn and use over and over again in many other situations. But you also have to learn some of the other things. Spirit has thousands of clients lined up for you.
Really?
Yeah. You ready for it? You ready for
Sounds like I need to get going.
Ready for 20 a week?
I can't imagine. I can't even imagine, but I love it so much. And it's become so easy. It's so natural. The information just flows in.
Mm-hmm. All right, darling, I got to let you go and move on to the next caller. Thank you so much.
Thank you as well. Appreciate it.
Unique caller. Thank you so much. All right, everybody, tell me what you thought of that caller. Many of you saw what was coming ahead of time when I asked you to do it. Okay? Cindy, a full-on transformation. What did it take? What did you guys predict about me? What did you feel was coming out of me in that process? There was a moment when I took a deep breath and it was full on, yes, because I had to stand my ground. But it was still compassion for the rigidity that I'd gone through because I already knew she went through the Catholic torture. Chiseling and sculpting of rigid stone. A good one, Jamie. All right, Robert, let's spin up the wheel of callers and see who has a good question for me.
All righty. Ollie Flight, you are unmuted with Andrew.
Holly, are you there?
Hello,
Hello, where are you calling from today?
I'm calling from the UK.
Welcome to the show. What did you want to talk about today? What question do you have for me?
Oh, well, I've just really come to your work fairly recently through a friend, Angela Miller.
Mhm.
And I've, in the last week, come out of a relationship and relocated due to a very intense intuitive response. And I'm finding myself in a new situation, but with a very good friend who also has been working with your work nearby. And we're looking to get into a new business, and just wondered if you had any advice or any insights as to what has been a very turbulent and very changing time these past few weeks.
How long were you in the relationship before?
It was about 16 months.
And how well did you know him?
Not well to begin with. No, it was a very much a yeah, kind of met and sort of instant go for it.
Did you lower yourself to be with him?
I did, yes.
Why?
For love, to be held, to feel.
None of that happened though, did it?
It did on a physical level, but there were things that ended up feeling like a direct threat, which is why I got out of it, basically.
So if you were a direct threat, none of it was real.
Yeah, basically. And it feels pretty silly. In my past, I've worked with orgon generators, making orgon generators, distributing them and the like, and was on a very different path. And yeah, I feel like it sort of scuppered, and I'm sort of just coming through it, but have been using the revocations, and I'm doing that daily.
What are they doing for you?
Helping. They have been clearing. I've closed all communication off on all levels, because it was just hooking back in, and yeah, so they have helped enormously. I mean, I'm just talking like in the last few days.
You ready to shut off your need to have a relationship for a few years?
Yes. Yes, I accept that.
Brutal honest with yourself.
Yeah, no, I accept that. I absolutely accept that, because I see
there's a part of you that's not ready, and to me it's screaming like the last caller's rigidity.
Okay. Okay, yeah.
On it. You have to do a serious work on it. If 5 months from now or 6 months from now or 9 months from now, you're going to get the I'm lonely itch.
Yeah.
And what's that going to do to your business when all of a sudden you're emotionally unstable? Because this is a pattern in you.
Yeah. I lost my brother when I was very young, and I think since then there's been that sense of being alone.
With tears behind it, the sense of being alone with tears behind it. I heard that.
Yeah, it's there. Absolutely. It's raw.
You got to
really raw.
That's actually a major issue in you. And it's going to interrupt all of your future businesses and non-business situations until you take care of that.
Do you have advice to do?
It's a major trauma that
Mhm.
healing is a process, not an event. Okay. My advice to you is you actually have to make a solemn spiritual oath that you're going to go celibate for 2 years. And
Okay.
reaffirm that prayer to prayer to prayer to prayer. And celibate means you are not going to be in a relationship with a man. You can have male friends, but you are not going to have anything more than business type relationships or companionships where you go see a movie or something like that, or you share a meal Dutch.
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay. But there's a whole bunch of energy behind that. Yeah.
Yeah. 2 years. Okay.
You're
Okay.
2 years. Why do you think 2 years?
I don't know.
Okay. Does that seem too long for you?
No, it just seems very specific.
Yes.
Mhm.
Because your habit patterns repeat about every 3 months. When you're too alone, you force something into your reality.
Mhm.
Look back on your choices and patterns before you
Yeah.
meet this last guy.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was it
Yeah.
like before him?
Yeah. Lonely.
Lonely, something replaced the loneliness. Loneliness, something replaces the loneliness. Loneliness,
Mhm.
something replaces the loneliness.
Mhm.
Does sexuality mean a lot to you?
Um, it's been a factor. Yeah. Pretty major factor.
That's why I said 2 years. And you went, oh,
Yeah.
you have some sex addiction problems, which you use
Okay.
to fill the void of loneliness.
Mm. Yeah. I hear that.
Okay. Where did you learn that from?
Um, I guess just growing up with um the kind of that that symbolism of the attractiveness and and just yeah, it's very much more to the fore now, but as I was growing up it was
That's the next form of inner work that you got to do. As I said, healing is a process, not an event. And the challenge you have going forward is peeling back the many layers of why you're alone, why you feel lonely, and what you do to replace loneliness.
yeah.
If you replace loneliness with business, you're setting yourself up for failure. You are.
Okay. I have a good friend who's also here. She's here. She's just said self-love, Carly. She's just 5 minutes down the road, and
What does
that
self-love really mean? Okay. What does it mean? And because I have a feeling you can give yourself a lot of self-love, but a month and a half later, it becomes not what you want. And you got to find something else that isn't your self-love. It's like having the same meal over and over and over and over again. You only know how to give yourself a handful of kinds of self-love. And you got to learn the broad way, many ways you can give yourself self-love.
Yeah.
That isn't instant gratification, sexual release.
I'm by the sea now, which is great. I love being by the sea and walk to the beach and just enjoy being there and just being with the ocean.
Yeah, but 6 months from now, it's going to be walking by the beach and doing that over and over again. Is it going to be self-love 6 months from now? I come back to this because you have a deeply ingrained habit pattern where you're going to be challenged. That's why I said you got to go and make a firm spiritual commitment that you're going to do 2 years of celibacy.
Okay.
2 years of no relationship with men.
Okay.
And
yes.
a spiritual prayer that you create 5, 6, 7 pages behind it, and it's your oath that you're going to spend these next 2 years discovering how to be alone with yourself and not feel lonely. How to create self-love in many different ways and shapes and forms.
Yes.
So you can learn to be free with your spirit. Because right now you're not free with your spirit. You're limited. You're pigeonholed into a set of perceptions and choices from a very young age about who you are, what you are, and how you deal with people.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I recognize that. I recognize that. Okay.
Didn't think it was going to be like this, did you?
I didn't know what it was going to be.
Well,
I just thought I'll just put my hand up and see what happens.
You were the follow-up to the rigidity collar. It's unique.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I'm open to that. Are there any particular revocations that I can access that would help with this?
I think you need to create some of your own.
Okay.
You need to go deep into the creativity process and learn how to take a lot of joy out of creating them.
Mm-hmm.
And have special kinds of words that trigger you to want to stay courageous to your oath.
Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yes. In my own words.
Yep. So there are like a whole bunch that you can use that are there as part of your daily upkeep that will help you peel back the many layers. Okay.
Yes.
Consciousness strike. Have you done that one?
Yes, that's what I'm doing. The communion and union strike. Yeah, I've been doing that for the last 3, including today, 4 days, just
Okay.
each day.
And
And then I just picked up the one for trolls, and I did that as well, just to, because that seemed to resonate as well.
Yeah. And then there's the one for the divine masculine, divine feminine, government, banking, media.
Yeah, I've got those. I'm just lining them up. So I was just working with the consciousness strike.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
And the heart meditation, you should get that one too.
Yeah, I've got that. Yeah.
Those are your daily practice. And then
there you go.
Add your own words to those too, to all of those.
Mm-hmm.
You got to put your own little spice into it.
Okay. Okay. Yep. Great.
I'm gonna let you go. I can move on to the next caller.
Thank you so much, Andrew. Thank you. Goodbye. Bye.
All right, Robert. Let's spin up the wheel of callers and see who's going to ask me a unique, special question.
Leah Twermer, you're unmuted with Andrew.
Leah, are you there?
Hi, Andrew. It's actually pronounced Leah, but that works too. Leah, I'll accept it.
Yeah, where are you calling from today?
I'm calling from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Welcome to the show. What questions you have for me tonight?
Oh, thank you very much. Let's see. I'm actually open to just a general reading, but I did have a specific question in mind, and that pertaining to what another oracle told me, revealed to me. This last year has been pretty intense. I had an awakening on August 6th of last year. Pretty much a miracle in that regard. And this last year has been spent doing some pretty big work and meeting some very interesting people that have helped along the way. And I'm a week away from going to Costa Rica for a few months, so that's very exciting.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like some major, pardon?
What was your miracle?
I was delivered from a heroin addiction, and I was very close to suicide. I was delivered by the energy, the spirit of the sacred medicine ayahuasca. I didn't drink a drop. It came to me energetically and delivered me over a 7-hour period.
Mm-hmm.
And I literally walked through hell. I was right in that frequency, which was confirming a lot of the things that I had known for years.
How long were you on heroin for?
Off and on for about 4.5 years.
How old were you when you started?
27.
Why did you start?
I had just given up on life. I didn't want, it was basically my F-it card, you know.
I get it.
Yeah.
So in the situation that ayahuasca came to you, were you on heroin at the time?
Yes, I was.
Very common experience, because the true medicine of heroin is not being used the way it should be used, currently being used correctly. And nor do I recommend anyone should be doing it, just like, as you well know, because it's the way it's refined is destructive and dangerous. So in that journey, it's taken you a year to go to find ayahuasca?
No, I was with the medicine just a month later. The woman who
What was your experience like when you did your first actual ayahuasca medicine?
oh boy. What was it like? I mean, it was I received some information about who I am and why I'm here.
And what was that information?
That I come from spiritual royalty and that I was stolen. And at some point, also I was to become a woman of prayer. And at some point I would be called to do some very big work regarding what runs this world.
I believe that too.
My hands are getting hot.
I'm gonna test your spirit here a little bit. Do you think I come from spiritual royalty?
I don't know.
Reach in.
I would assume yes, and I don't really like using that word assume. I feel.
Don't assume. Let yourself just have an answer. That's your answer. Don't be rigid with your answer. Yes.
Yes.
Many people come from spiritual royalty and end up on the surface world. They should have never ended up on the surface world. Did they show you what type of spiritual royalty you were?
I went to a place called the Golden Dome. Well, I call it the Golden Dome. And I received my lion totem there. And I also had an Irisgamos activation several months later while I was in Utah. And that showed me some things as well. And that experience was pretty profound.
Do you ever heard me talk about the Hollow Earth?
I haven't yet.
Do you know what the Hollow Earth is?
I don't, but it just took me back to an experience I had while I was on mushrooms, and I got sent to the middle of the earth and I was stripped of all my skin and I had to sit in my bones.
So the Hollow Earth, it's got two kinds of spaces, where part of it is literally hollowed out caverns that have giant crystals around them where physical beings live in higher density forms. And then there are the space between atoms where light beings live and create cities. You were taken from one of those Hollow Earth realms and brought to the surface world to be forced into a lineage of people so that other beings can be stolen also. And part of your spiritual prayer work is deconstructing the constructs that are creating hijacking of children.
Yes.
Okay.
I know this.
There's more to it. The journey out of the drug addiction and into purpose, that's where you're at right now. So you're going to go to Costa Rica to do what?
My childhood best friend lives there. She and her husband run a bed and breakfast, and they offered me the opportunity to come and volunteer. And I really need to get out of this frequency and go to a place that's more pure so that I can continue my work on myself, my healing.
What about when you're done?
I haven't thought that far ahead.
You need to start thinking that far ahead. And what is your work?
I think that's part of why I'm going to Costa Rica, is to get more clear on that and direction.
You actually know what your work is. You just don't know how to do it.
Correct.
Okay. My advice to you is to bring as many fresh notebooks with you as you can and to use your hands to actually write. Do you write cursive?
I do.
Are you good at it?
I am.
In our ancient history, calligraphy was an artwork. Are you familiar with calligraphy?
I love it.
I want you to pick a couple books up, and I want you to make your spiritual prayers just like calligraphy. That every ounce of focus you put in to be making those special words. I got tears saying this. Are your prayers in focus to create a manifestation so you understand what your work is? Your work is prayer and the creation of prayers that will affect millions in calligraphy form. a unique art form that spans tens of thousands of worlds.
My heart's starting to vibrate. It's starting to shake.
Your heart is going to find a way to create deep, unique channels from your heart into your arms, into your fingers, and into what you choose to write calligraphy with. Some people do calligraphy pure with horsehair brushes. So there's no hard point where it's all the fluid and the flow. Go down to an art shop and look up calligraphy and see all the different styles that you can use, because some words will only come out with a rigid stick and some words will only come out with a horsehair brush.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I have one more question for you if you have time.
Yes, go ahead.
So thank you so much, by the way. Another oracle, a mentor that I work with, she gave me some information that I have been pondering its validity and whether or not it was, how can I put this? It just seems a little much to be true, right? So I'm not trying to denounce what she has told me. It's more, if it is true, if it were to be true, how am I to hold that position? And if it's not true, why would she give me that information?
What's the information?
I'm a little bit uncomfortable sharing this just because it's kind of personal. Like I don't know if I'm ready to share it on an open platform per se. Like I have told a few people, but she essentially, what she told me is that I'm an incarnate of a very, very big spiritual figure in history. And there are things that line up that would indicate that that could be a possibility. But again, I don't even know what to do with that.
Why would you ask if you're not willing to speak it? You don't believe it. Or you're in full denial of it. Or there's more to the subject matter that you don't know how to break down.
Can you walk me through this?
Just say what it is. Have courage. You won't be judged.
Okay, I can do that.
Okay.
She told me that due to the bloodlines on my mother and father's side, that I am the reincarnation of Mary Magdalene. And I asked her, do you mean that like as in frequency, as in there are several people that—
You are not. You are not.
Pardon?
You are not. You are not. You are not. You are
That's not. What I figured. And so I'm wondering why she would tell me that.
Because unfortunately, psychics like to make stories to keep people motivated into their healing. And they don't know their own bullshit at times.
Yeah, that's what doesn't sit right with me.
That's why you couldn't say it.
Yeah, I mean, I understand why she might, I get that. I get what you're saying, but it's like, I don't know. There's just a line of integrity with me that's very, very firm.
But you are still spiritual royalty. And in this psychic scenario, she didn't know how to identify it. Her default answers. Do you know how many people call me and think they're the reincarnation of Mary Magdalene? A year? 20,
yeah.
A year?
Exactly, I'm sure. That's why I'm just like, what's going on here? Again, I'm not trying to completely denounce it, but it was just off, right?
Right, because she didn't have the right answer to give you. And as you begin to work and truly get 20, 50, 100 pages of your spiritual prayer, you're going to realize that there's a lot more information in what you're doing in your calligraphy writing. You're going to get a whole story of who the hell you really are. And you're not going to know until the moment that you write it all and you look back at it. That's your contract, to not know until you've made the manifestation. Biatch. That's a mic drop moment. You can't know until you've manifested it on your own.
I accept that. That's
Okay?
beautiful. Yeah.
Because if it only comes from you, you'll know it's true or not.
In in that regard, do I get to follow my heart in all ways then? Because there are a lot of opinions coming in from people that I trust, but I trust my own heart more. I have to.
Heart's not always right.
Yeah, that's true.
Unfortunately, the heart is not always right.
Hmm.
It may be close to being right, but it's not always right. It's still perception and perspective that allows us to make a concept of right or wrong. Sometimes you can't follow your heart. Sometimes you have to follow what the 3D world is saying. You can't love and light your ass and not pay the bills. There are a lot of people that follow their heart and end up homeless in the community. Have you seen them?
Yeah, I mean, I've been there.
You followed your heart till you're homeless.
Yeah.
That wasn't right, was it?
I mean, it sucked.
Yeah. Yeah, it did. You need to learn to temper the heart. The heart can easily put you on a road of self-destruction. You have to have cerebral heart space awareness, where the mind and the heart aren't in competition with each other, but are co-creating the mystical you. And that's the state of being.
Andrew, do you have any advice on exactly how I can stay balanced with this world and what I'm here to do?
Don't lose your social skills. First thing.
Pardon me?
Don't lose your social skills. Don't become a hermit. Okay? So you're 1 year being sober now. Have you been in a relationship since then?
Oh, goodness gracious. I was in a relationship when I had the deliverance, and I thought it was a twin flame connection. I'm on the fence about that at this point, to be honest with you. He was there when I was delivered.
It wasn't. It never was.
Karmic relationship. I'm starting to see that. Yeah.
No, set up as a spiritual contract for you to go into your awakened state and to understand that the new state can't allow the old state.
Yeah.
You're asking a question specific, what you can do to stay grounded. Like the last caller, what's going to happen when you feel lonely? What is your happen the last 10 years of your history before the drugs? What did you do when you were lonely? Really lonely.
Yeah, I get it. I see it. I do.
You're going to Costa Rica, you're going to have a great chance. You know, I'm not going to give you the same concept of being celibate. I don't necessarily think that may be the right thing for you, but you're going to have to be really fucking picky. Really picky. And then really see how being sober and lonely affects you. Because you haven't been sober, you've only been sober for a year. And in that year, what have you seen about yourself when you're lonely?
Isolation, a lot of it.
Okay. So it's very easy to get lost in spirit. I could assure you of that.
Oof.
It's always calling me up there to do shit.
Yes.
Yeah. Can't lose yourself to spirit either. Can't lose yourself to spirit either. So it's a delicate balance of doing the inner work and then taking a break from processing and doing the inner work all the time. If you process and do the inner work all the time, you're never going to really understand how it's changed you. Okay?
Yeah. Thank you so much.
There's more. There's more. So once you identified how loneliness affects you and that you know you can't be living up there, what are you going to do when you're not doing your spiritual work? What else is going to bring joy, happiness, and pleasure to you? That's something that you can do that isn't spirit. It isn't doing the spirit's work. Hobby. Okay. What toys did you play with when you were young?
All the toys. I liked all the toys.
Okay. You're going to need some adult toys. and not masturbation toys, adult toys that truly give you happiness. Okay? If you were a man, I'd tell you to get a monster truck or a freaking motorcycle, but you're not.
I
Okay?
just want to make clothes and jewelry. That'll keep me plenty occupied.
No, it won't. No, it won't. I roll my eyes at you. You're another woman who thinks making jewelry and clothes is going to make you happy. It isn't. It isn't. Okay? Don't default to that. You will wreck yourself.
What do you recommend? What do you see?
You got to search. You really gotta search what's going to make you happy. And I'm telling you, clothes and jewelry isn't going to make you happy. It's supplementing your doing spirit work, because all the clothes and stuff are amplifying your spirit. All the jewelry is going to make the energy different. It's still not doing it for joy's sake. And it's not community work with other women either. What are you solely going to do yourself for gratification and pleasure that isn't spirit? Hobby.
Does volunteering get to be a hobby?
Nope. That's service to others.
Damn, I don't know then.
That's the inner work.
Okay.
That's the inner work. To truly know that when I've done enough work for spirit, what am I doing when I'm off? Okay? Because if you think you can stay spirit full-time 24/7, 365, you've already failed. Because there is an inner person in you that lived with the party life. That was a gratification factor. Okay?
Yeah, definitely.
Surfing, that's one you can try. Boating, jet skiing. Okay? Do any of those appeal to you?
Yeah, I just have really bad ears and I can't get water in them. And so water sports can be a nuisance without plugs. But yeah, I would love to get more into that.
Okay. Ice skating, roller skating.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not yoga.
Yeah. I don't like yoga.
Okay.
I don't. I do my own version of it.
Okay. Skateboarding, all that kind of stuff. Okay. Go get some punk rock clothes and skateboard.
Can I eat mushrooms while I do it? Does that count? I mean,
you are going to have to make sure you limit your hallucinogens unless you make it fully 100% sacred. Because you used heroin for such a long period of time, it's very easy for you to go into recreational use. Recreational use you can no longer do. You can no longer do recreational hallucinogens. It cannot be done for pleasure. It has to be done for spirit's work, the inner work on yourself. And I think that's going to be one of those challenges for you. That's why I said you got to go out and find a hobby that isn't drugs. And ayahuasca cannot become your religion, period.
Yeah, no.
You open the doorway so you can do it without it.
It's interesting you say that. The ayahuasca shaman that I worked with, she is just so gung-ho and she sees me, kind of following in that line. And I said, no, I want to be able to do this work without taking entheogens and without, essentially relying on these things to get to these places. If I feel called to the medicine and there are specifics involving why I feel called, whether it's to pay homage or whatever the case may be, then fine. But no, I don't want to be one of those people that gets sucked into the new age,
Stick with that.
practitioner.
Stick with that. You do medicine for medicine's sake of doing the inner work.
Yes.
That's how you probably only do it 2 times a year. Okay? On the solstice.
Yeah. Did you say on the solstice?
Yeah, on the solstices. But you got to make sure you give yourself months of prayer leading up to those so that it actually makes the difference. You've never had 6 months of prayer leading up to a medicine journey.
No, but that sounds beautiful.
But imagine 6 months of calligraphy, spiritual writing, and that as you're getting closer and closer to it, you get excited and dopamine releases because the medicine's already with you. Medicine's never not with you. And then imagine the opening of the ceremonies, reading out your last 6 months of creations. It'll take you a few hours to read them out, and you're going to have many hours of a journey left after that.
Regarding that, I do have a brief question, and I don't want to keep you too long because I want other people to have a chance to be read. And thank you so much again. So some things that came up during my ayahuasca ceremonies and during my deliverance were regarding the Cabal and that domain of things. And I received a little bout of intuition, of clarity. Months and months later, I couldn't figure out, why I was having these things come up. And I had an intuitive hit that had something to do with contracts and the breaking of contracts in some form or another.
Well, let's just say you are, in other lives, you would have been a part of the Cabal. You're in the lineage that was supposed to be in the control surfaces. You weren't born in the white picket fence family, were you?
Oh, yeah. I guess this is probably a whole nother reading, huh?
No, it's just in a matter of acceptance that your soul chose not to do it. And unfortunately, and fortunately, the choice to do heroin was your only way out of that karmic trap of being a Cabal cunt.
Okay, what does that mean though? What is the lineage you speak of my family, and like what side does it come from? I'm just trying to understand better what this is.
Soul lineage. It's not about who your mother and father was.
Mm-hmm.
It's choosing natural co-creative evolution or forced evolution as natural creative evolution. You cannot force every being to evolve. You have to allow natural co-creative evolution.
Mm-hmm.
That's the difference between the Cabal and everyone else. They believe their way is the only way. And they're forcing that on everyone else.
I don't feel that resonates with me though. In fact, it's the opposite.
Exactly. And that's why you chose this lifetime to break all the contracts, vows, and agreements with all the previous lifetimes that you were believing that. And that's why your heroin journey and your medicine journey showed you all those different relationships that had to be broken down.
So now what do I get to belong to, or who am I? I mean, how does that work?
Your own God creator being. Are you ready to accept that you are a God creating being? Self-creator. And have the responsibility to use it.
Yes.
Hold the mantle of responsibility for the 7 future generations. For yourself, the 7 future yous, and the 7 future generations of everyone else. And to not become a martyr to the future generations, not become a zealot, but allow natural co-creative evolution to flow through you, just as Spirit has spoken to you in a clear voice to change. Delivered from change. Delivered from the stagnancy. Now that you're delivered, and you're done doing the baby stage and you're walking, what are you responsible for?
I don't have words for that right now.
That's the next part of the inner work. You are responsible for yourself and equal to your level of awareness. Don't allow curiosity learning to take you down a path you can't undo. Curiosity learning is one of the most destructive things that's in our culture and society right now. Be focused on what you want to learn and understand you are equal, your responsibility is equal to your level of awareness. That's it. You're writing with energy. Have you done the Union and Communion Consciousness Strike?
I don't know about that.
It's on the webpage under the Insights tab. It's a document about forced evolution and natural co-creative evolution. I'd highly recommend you go and download that one. It's a little long, it's about 9-10 pages. Okay.
Beautiful. Yeah, I'm excited.
Have you done any of the other contract revocations?
I actually just found you very recently, a few weeks ago, and I've been listening for a couple of nights. And so you're kind of new into my world, and I'm very excited to have you in my life and for the work you do.
What was the first video you heard?
I don't remember, actually. I don't. I just remember it hooked me, and I'm like, yes, this man he knows what's up.
Thank you. So what you can do is contact mpa@galactichistorian.com and ask them for the contract revocations and meditations that come with the free ones that come with Living the Mystical Life Daily. And then you'll get a heart meditation and a bunch of other ones that come out free with all the material. Okay.
Thank you so much, Andrew. And I mean this, I truly appreciate you and what you do. And, you're the real deal. And there's a lot of stuff going on out there, and a lot of people, seeking to gain, and I don't mean that maliciously entirely. I just, you're one of the few that I've come across that's actually really doing this work.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Much love, much gratitude, and maybe
gratitude to you. And you've got a great, beautiful future ahead of you. Find a hobby that is in spirit. Hear those words. Find an understanding of what loneliness means to you, so that when you're not doing spirit's work, you're not sitting there alone waiting for somebody to fill that space. And when somebody is ready to come and fill that space, they're going to have a series of hobbies that aren't spiritual, because more than likely you're going to find a person that isn't spiritual right away. And it's going to be a challenge with you going forward and having a relationship, because if you find it too much of a spiritual person, you will clash with them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Because you weren't spiritual until your deliverance. Okay? And part of what spirit wants is for you to have a completed companionship. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
It'll come. Okay? And when you get to, like I said, get as much calligraphy experience under your belt before you head down to Costa Rica, as many notebooks as you can, and write up a storm. Calligraphy up a storm. Watercolor, paint, whatever it is. Find the right medium, because certain words will only come with certain styles of the hand.
Like an automatic writing type thing, right?
No, it's your co-creation with spirit. It isn't automatic. You still got to have your side to it. It's your understanding of the language.
Okay.
All right, darling. Take it easy.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
All right, Robert, I think we're going to call it to an end of the show. This has been really fun and really special. All right, everyone. Take it easy. Relax. For those that of you have signed up for the boot camp special, we'll be starting the December the 7th, 14th, and 21st are the dates. Check your email if you have applied for it. For those that you haven't, you have a few days left to sign up. Contact mpa@galactichistorian.com if you want to be a part of the 3-day spiritual boot camp that's leading up to the winter solstice. All right, everyone, take it easy, and we'll be back this Thursday. Each different bubble of reality is true. A galactic historian is a person that looks at all the lines of dramatic karma. Nudge, nudge. It's the Holy Grail. Improvise. Mysterious. It's counter psychic intelligence.
Why is DNA farming of this star cluster so important?
Because we do manifest our reality. We do create our reality.